What's going on, boxing fans? It's Julian Williams with The Distance. I'm here to give you my thoughts for this Danny Green, Bernard Hopkins negotiations. I did read in an article today, which was actually written and posted on December the 31st, that the fight was dead in the water. Overall, the matchup, that was supposed to happen was Roy Jones versus Bernard Hopkins, and those plans changed when Danny Green knocked out Roy Jones in one round. So anyway, I think that this matchup should take place. I do think it should be a 50-50 fight because Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, I believe was going to be a 50-50, 60-40 if there was a knockout. So why not fight Danny Green for the same amount of money, I guess. HBO, I believe, was willing to air the fight. And Danny Green even went as far out as to call Bernard Hopkins out on national television, or not on cable television, on Showtime, on a boxing card, and on the undercard of Darchinyan Rojas, and or on the card of Darchinyan Rojas, Pierce and Bradley. He called him out. So he was calling him out on American television. So I do think that Hopkins needs to take this fight. He was talking about fighting David Haye. I believe that would be an easy fight to make due to the fact that I think David Haye is with Golden Boy, or he has a deal with Golden Boy. So I think that those two could work out a deal. But David Haye's tied up. He has a mandatory defense against John Ruiz, sometime in 2010. So, that fight's not going to happen anytime soon, maybe till the end of this year. There's Chad Dawson, but Chad Dawson's with Gary Shaw as well. I'm a bit surprised that Gary Shaw is not trying to get Hopkins versus Dawson due to the fact that John Pascal had surgery and is going to be out till June. So, his fighter, Chad Dawson, needs to stay busy, but who's he going to fight? So I'm a bit surprised that, I think that Hopkins-Dawson is a bit of a bigger fight, a much bigger fight, than, or at least in America, than Green-Hopkins. But, in Australia, I think Green-Hopkins would be the bigger fight. I don't think Hopkins Green would be that big in the United States, but in Australia it would be huge. But honestly, I don't think the fight should be at 60-40 because even though Danny Green did beat a past his prime Roy Jones, he does have a victory over him. Hopkins, even though he fought him about 16, 17 years ago, doesn't have the victory over Roy Jones. So I think that that's kind of the leverage that Green has, and that's why I think he deserves the 50-50 share of the fight. But that's politics in boxing. Stuff like that happens. But and on top of that, who else is Hopkins going to face? Tomas Adamek is campaigning at heavyweight. He was going to fight Adamek, but that's kind of dead in the water as well. There's really no light heavyweights to face as well. From Roy Jones might retire. Glenn Johnson defeated him at middleweight. John Pascal injured. Stuff like that. The only person open for him to fight at light heavyweight is Chad Dawson, and I'm not sure if he wants to fight or not. There's a lot of debate regarding the fact that does Chad Dawson generate a lot of money. But every hardcore boxing fan, or every boxing fan in general, wants to see the fight with Dawson. But Green, there's a lot of intrigue because Green knocked out the man that he was supposed to face, who was Roy Jones. So why not face Danny Green? Because there's a story to this matchup. There's a build up to this matchup. Green knocked out the man that beat Hopkins. And even though that this man was a shell of his former self, it's still intriguing. It's still it's still going to bring boxing fans worldwide, to this match. So I think that this match is big because it does bring fans. It does bring fans from across the pond, together for this fight. So I think that this could be good for boxing. Kind of a little nation versus nation type approach. We have, and that's, I think it's one of the best things for boxing. But at the same time, the debate among fans can generate a lot of animosity at times. But I'm starting to get a little more familiar with the Australian boxing scene and stuff like that. But overall, I do think that Hopkins needs to take the 50-50. If HBO agrees, he might as well take the fight, because what other fight is HBO going to agree to for him? This is I guess, other than Dawson, this is as much of a big money fight as it can get for Bernard Hopkins. Because he's not going to be fighting Hay anytime soon. Dawson is kind of out on the shelf. I guess he's waiting for his fight, or either that or Gary Shaw doesn't want the fight if he's helping Danny Green. One or the other. But I do think Hopkins needs to take this fight, against Danny Green, and and then determine whether or not he wants to continue fighting, because he will be, if he IBO is not that big of a championship. It's not really a major championship, but he could say, hey, I was a titleist in 3 divisions, at least. So if he wins this matchup, of course. So and I learned my lesson of counting Green out, when I predicted the fight against him and Jones. But overall, this is a good, intriguing matchup. This does generate a lot of money. From my opinion, I think it attracts a lot of money, because you got two different countries, and it's going to attract more people, more boxing fans, because you got the American boxing fans and you got the Australian boxing fans, and even in between, in Europe and wherever else, who are fans of boxing, it generates a lot of interest. So I do believe that this could be a great event. This could be another huge event for Danny Green, and another huge event for Bernard Hopkins. But I do think that he should take this fight, especially if he was willing to go to Europe to fight Joe Calzaghe. He should be willing to go to Australia to fight Danny Green, or fight Danny Green here and do it 50-50, have it air on HBO, and move on from there. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this matchup. Thanks for watching. That was The Distance. Peace.